everybody, my name is Emmeline Drury, and today my slideshow is going to be on Generalized Anxiety Disorder, also known as GAD. This anxiety disorder is the most common, and it affects millions of people all around the world. So just to give a little bit of an overview for my slideshow, I will be covering topics like how this disorder is diagnosed, the history of it, certain risk factors, symptoms, cultural considerations, treatment choices, and how it impacts children and teens. Towards the end, I will also give some practical advice for supporting someone with this disorder and show a brief YouTube video on what it's like to live with generalized anxiety disorder. Let's get started with what is generalized anxiety disorder. So, defined by the DSM-5, it is excessive anxiety and worry, occurring more days than not for at least 6 months, about a number of events or activities. So, people with generalized anxiety disorder often find it hard to control their worries and may experience symptoms like restlessness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, irritability, and trouble sleeping. This constant state of worry can significantly impact a person's daily life and relationships, their work, even school life, and basically any area of life this disorder can affect. The next slide here is showing the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria. So on the right of the slideshow, you will see the generalized anxiety disorder checklist, which doctors and nurses use to diagnose someone with this disorder. There's a list of all of the different symptoms or scenarios that someone would either answer yes or no to, and they have to have 3 or more of these symptoms for reoccurring for at least 6 months. So some of those are restlessness and being on edge, being easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating in certain daily life experiences, irritability, muscle tension, sleep disturbances. And it is really important to have an accurate diagnosis for proper treatment. So answering these questions with full honesty is always required. This slide is the history of generalized anxiety disorder. So as we know, anxiety has been recognized for centuries, but GAD as a distant diagnosis is relatively recent actually. It was first introduced as a separate disorder in the DSM-3 in 1980. And then we find ourselves with the DSM-5, which is the definition that we use currently, and it shows that GAD is classified under anxiety disorders with specific diagnostic criteria. And previously, GAD was once considered part of the general neurosis or mixed anxiety depressive disorders. So now it has been refined to better capture its unique features, like the persistent nature of worry and the physical symptoms that often come along with generalized anxiety disorder. Moving forward to risk factors, so several factors, as we know, can increase a person's risk of developing generalized anxiety disorders. One, like personality traits, someone who's maybe a perfectionist or has low self-esteem, that can increase their risk of having this disorder. Genetics play a huge piece in being diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder because usually it can run in families. And if you have family history of someone with this anxiety, you are more susceptible to also being diagnosed with it. But things like brain chemistry, like imbalances of neurotransmitters like serotonin or dopamine can also play a role in being at a higher risk, or even life experiences like trauma or chronic stress or even childhood difficulties can increase the risk of someone developing this disorder. But yeah, it's basically just a mix of genetics, biological and environmental factors of, where you grew up or what your personality has become over the years. So this slide is going to be symptoms. I have them separated into emotional, mental, and then physical. So some of the emotional symptoms are everyday or very often excessive worry about things in your daily life, difficulty controlling that worry and helping yourself not worry about those specific things, feeling on edge or easily startled, having a hard time concentrating, whether that's in work or family life or school, your mind going blank, as I have it stated there. Some of the physical symptoms can be having a hard time sleeping, fatigue, muscle tension, stomach aches or headaches, and these symptoms can significantly interfere with your daily life, making it hard to do your basic, things to live. I think many people don't realize that some of these physical symptoms can be a sign of anxiety. A lot of people think that it's just emotional and mental, but the physical are also a very important piece of being diagnosed with this anxiety and even recognizing that you have it. We won't spend much time on because this is just kind of reiterating what I was just talking about. This is just a photo I found of more symptoms other than the ones on the slide previously. So a few that I'll point out are sweating, trembling, hyperventilation, maybe panic attacks, stuff like that. It's just on this slide, so if you just want to, read that. Move on to cultural considerations when diagnosing GAD. So, cultural expression of anxiety can vary from person to person. Every culture, displays their physical and mental symptoms of anxiety differently. So, that's why it's very important to take that into account when diagnosing somebody. As well as language barriers and stigma around mental health from different cultural beliefs can also impact this diagnosis and treatment. So it's really important, like for hospitals and doctor's office and healthcare providers, to consider a person's cultural background when diagnosing them. We have it here saying that immigration, discrimination, and acculturation pressure can influence anxiety levels as well. So even your culture can impact maybe if you're more susceptible to having anxiety as well. And it's just very, very important for doctors to take this into account when evaluating someone to avoid misdiagnosing them or not seeing this diagnosis. Generalized anxiety disorder in children and teens. I really wanted to focus a lot of my research on this because I'm 18, and so it's really interesting to learn more about how children and teenagers show different symptoms or can be treated differently with this anxiety disorder. So, common worries are that kids and teens are often worrying a lot about school and social interactions and family issues, pressure, grades, relationships. Even if there is no real threat, they're still worrying about those things. A lot of kids are. And they also might have those physical symptoms that we talked about before, like headaches, hard time sleeping, fatigue, which it might seem like that's a common thing for teenagers to have, and so it could be easily overlooked as not being anxiety, but these are physical symptoms of anxiety. As well as impact on daily life. So generalized anxiety disorder can interfere with friendships and academics and just overall developments of kids and teenagers. And that could lead to them, having poor social skills, not healthy relationships, low self esteem, bad grades. And so it's just really important for early intervention, because untreated anxiety in childhood can lead to long term mental health issues. And so we really need to help kids develop healthy coping strategies and making that difference and diagnosing them, seeing the signs, and just talking about it more, ending that stigma that we have in society on mental health and anxiety disorders as a whole. Treatment for generalized anxiety disorder often includes a combination of different cognitive behavioral therapy, so CBT, medication like SSRIs or SNRIs, and lifestyle changes like regular exercise and mindfulness. So it's a mixture of these three different treatment choices kind of all working together. It's rarely just you're only doing one, but more that you're using all of your resources for a better end goal or a stable, more enjoyable life. So finding the right treatment plan for everybody can take lots of time, and it's often more effective when it's personalized for that specific person and what works best for them. But I don't have it stated here in the slide, but support from friends and family and your therapist or just mental health professionals is also crucial to be able to change your lifestyle and be on a better path and find that treatment that works for you. That kind of goes hand in hand with all three of these different treatment choices. And I just thought that was really important to add. Supporting someone with generalized anxiety disorder. So if you know somebody who is struggling with generalized anxiety disorder or any anxiety disorder for that matter, one of the most important things you can do is just listen without judgment. You can also avoid minimizing their feelings or offering oversimplistic advice like just relax or it'll be fine. Instead of those things, you want to encourage them to seek professional help if they want it or need it, and just be a constant source of support and be there for them and listen to them and let them know that too. Um, Always keep in mind that, taking care of your mental health is just as important, and setting a good example to a friend or a family member or a coworker by taking that step for yourself. But it's very good to validate their experience and to listen without judgment, as well as just support them for whatever they might need. Sources from the photos and my websites, from the information that I researched about. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And I think mental health is so important to learn about, to educate yourself about, and to speak out about. Thank you so much.